Hi, my name's Eric. I'll be reading you selections from the edition of today's Cape Cod Times. Today's date is Monday, March 2nd of 2026. And we'll start with the weather, as we always do. Been important the last couple of weeks, of course. Today, 25 degrees the expected high, partly sunny, very cold across the Cape and Islands. Tonight, frigid with a moonlit sky, a low of 12 degrees. Yes, going to be the coldest night of the week tonight. On Tuesday, tomorrow, not as cold. Maybe snow and rain in the afternoon. A high of 44 during the day, a low of 38 degrees at night. On Wednesday, rather cloudy. High of 45, low of 33. On Thursday, occasional rain and drizzle expected. A high of 47, a low of 35. And on Friday, rain possible in the morning and cloudy. High of 42. Low of 36. So other than today, which will be very cold, and tonight very cold, the rest of the week will be the warmest we've had in a while with mid-40s. And hopefully some of this snow, which is built up and accumulated over the past month or so, will be gone. That would be very nice. But it will turn to slush because it's really rain that we're going to probably have later in the week. And rain and snow, well, that doesn't necessarily make water. It makes slush. The sun will rise today at 6:15 a.m. It will set at 5:33 p.m. We'll have 11 hours and 18 minutes of daylight. The moon will rise at 4:53 p.m. and set at 5:52 a.m. Heading to the front of the paper, where they used to keep the lottery results, and we read these because, well, someone asked for them. If there's something you would like read to people who are blind or print disabled, you can email us at info@audiblelocalledger.org or call us at 508-539-2030, and we'll consider reading it. And if you miss any of the information that we share in our readings, you can always go to audiblelocalledger.org. Click on the Listen tab. It's fully disability compliant website, and All Reads to the Blind has 150 chronologically arranged readings, so the most recent are at the top, and you could catch up on anything that you might have missed. We also keep a wide variety of periodicals and literature up there for your listening pleasure, as well as the shopping guides that come out on Saturday morning for the week to follow. We keep our Ledger Actors Workshop plays there as well as a separate podcast. You can click on that and listen to about 25 different radio plays our volunteers have performed, and you can enjoy that. This month's is Night Must Fall, a suspense thriller. A lot of fun there. And all of this is free for people who are blind or print disabled at audiblelocalledger.org. For the latest results, we go to masslottery.com because the Cape Cod Times goes to press too early. For the numbers game of Sunday, March 1st of 2026, in the midday drawing, the results were 1, 2, 3, 8. Again, yesterday's midday drawing for Sunday, March 1st, 1, 2, 3, 8. In the evening drawing last night for Sunday, March 1st, the results were 6, 8, 4, 2. Last night's numbers game results, evening drawing, 6, 8, 4, 2. Good luck to all who play, and remember us if you win. From the front page of today's Cape Cod Times, the headline above the fold, if there was such a thing in a digital newspaper, Cape Cod National Seashore gets help from other parks after storm, by Denise Coffey. Downed trees are blocking roads, trails, parking lots, walkways, and driveways throughout the Cape Cod National Seashore as a result of the blizzard of 26. Park teams are working to remove all downed trees from areas of concern, wrote Lindsay French on Thursday, February 26th. The public information officer with the Seashore said the Cape was getting help from parks as far away as Maine and Delaware. Crews from Acadia National Park, Weir Farm National Historic Park, Delaware Water Gap National Recreation Area, and Katahdin Woods and Waters National Monument are assisting. The Lowell National Historical Park, Boston National Historical Park, and Adams National Historical Park are supporting the Cape Cod National Seashore with equipment. Rangers are in the middle of assessing damage to facilities, infrastructure, and the park in general, French wrote. Park buildings in several areas remain closed for safety, according to the Seashore's Facebook post. The post warned people to stay away from bluffs, which could collapse without warning. With the Seashore's approximately 44,000 acres of land embedded in towns on the Outer Cape, clearing down trees on roadways was a priority. There are approximately 11,500 acres of pine forest in the park. David Bernstein, president of the Friends of the Cape Cod National Seashore, said plowing still had to be completed at the Salt Pond Visitors Centers and the beaches. French said rangers were assessing the erosion at all beaches. The stairs at Marconi Beach are being assessed for stability, she said. The other local story on the front page of today's Cape Cod Times: unresponsive pair are okay after being found on a Provincetown boat, the town says, by Zane Razak. Two people found unresponsive Thursday after being exposed to carbon monoxide on the FV Yankee Rose in Provincetown Harbor have made a full recovery, according to Provincetown Harbor Master Pete Wynn on Sunday. Provincetown police responded to a call for an unresponsive person on a fishing boat at McMillan Pier shortly before 6 p.m. Thursday and found two unresponsive people. Both were taken to Cape Cod Hospital in Hyannis. FV Yankee Rose is part of the Provincetown-based fishing fleet. After the rescue, 3 police officers, 2 EMTs, and the harbor master reported feeling lightheaded. Mutual aid partners from Wellfleet, Truro, and Eastham helped transport patients to Cape Cod Hospital for evaluation. The 6 first responders and harbor master left the hospital on Friday morning, Coast Guard Lieutenant Quinn LeCain previously said. All first responders involved have since also fully recovered, said Wynn on Sunday. Provincetown Fire Department said in a statement that a suspected carbon monoxide poisoning call was quickly recognized and handled exactly as taught after the EMS crew began feeling dizzy in what they described as the hole. Fire crews recorded a significant CO reading, according to the statement. The number of patients outnumbered available ambulances, so a mass casualty incident was called on Thursday so Provincetown could request ambulances from surrounding towns, including Truro, Wellfleet, and Eastham. And as we keep it local, we'll move inside to the Cape and Islands. There are other stories that are national and, of course, international to report, which we will get to. Cape Cod photographer finds a bit of spring before a blizzard, by Steve Heslip. Today's 24/7 weather updates provide plenty of advance notice when big storms charge toward our fragile peninsula. So much so it can be hard to get that calm before the storm moment of peace and quiet. Last Sunday's weather provided a long period for storm prep. The batteries were charged, deck furniture battened down, and an extra bundle of firewood stowed in the garage. It was tempting to doom scroll through forecasts again as snow measurements moved from inches to feet. Wind predictions were moving into speed limit ranges on the Mass Pike. But bare ground was present after the meltdown, and no predictions at all about when that might arrive again. It was time for a short walk. No doubt snowshoes would be needed traveling, and that would be traveling the same route the following day. The afternoon light was dimming as cloud cover from what now is known as the blizzard of 2026 started to arrive. My not really secret snowdrop photo location is a brief 10-minute walk, and the conditions seemed right. Sure enough, snow piles had yielded some open space, and a few blooms bravely put on what would be a brief showing. I'd been walking by for weeks, imagining them buried under 2 feet of snow, and here they were, winter survivors, just like all of us on Cape Cod. The snow piles up, we dig out, and we start our long-awaited trek towards spring all over again. And there's a photo of a solitary snowdrop putting on a brief showing just before going back undercover when almost 2 feet of snow arrived from Winter Storm Hernando in Barnstable Village. It's a pretty photo. And a regional story is in the Cape and Islands section. Tariff refund? What to expect after the Supreme Court ruling, by Margie Cullen and Janine Santucci of USA Today Network, New England. Some Democrats, including New England politicians, are demanding refunds after the Supreme Court ruled against President Donald Trump sweeping tariffs on imports on February 20th. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker sent Trump an invoice for $8,679,261,600, or $1,700 for every family in Illinois. And California Governor Gavin Newsom asked for $1,751 per family. The tariffs were illegal on day one. A tax increase on ranchers, on farmers, on small businesses, on you, and on me. Donald Trump should return that money immediately, Newsom said. Pay us back. The average American family is paid more than $1,700 in tariff costs as of January, according to a report by Democrats on the Congressional Joint Economic Committee. The Nonpartisan Tax Foundation said in a report earlier in February that the tariffs cost each household an average of $1,000 in 2025. Senators Elizabeth Warren, Cory Booker, and Peter Welch, all Democrats, also asked Trump to return any refunds from the federal government to Americans and businesses illegally cheated out of their hard-earned money, quote unquote, in a letter sent February 24th. But it appears that you have no plans to refund these costs and no idea how to do so, they wrote. The Democrats' idea follows months of speculation about Trump's long-floated plan to send $2,000 tariff rebate checks to some Americans, the fate of which remains unclear. Well, what about the $2,000 rebate? Trump's been floating that idea for $2,000 payments since a Truth Social post in November of 2025, when he described them as dividends from tariff revenue for those of moderate income. However, exact details about when and how they'd be paid out have always been murky, as Congress hadn't yet approved any stimulus payments, and experts cautioned whether the amount of money coming in from tariffs would be enough to cover the dividend. It's not clear to me they were ever going to happen, said Stephen Durloff, an economist and director of the Stone Center for Research on Wealth Inequality and Mobility at the University of Chicago Harris School of Public Policy, told USA Today. Durloff said that checks tied to tariff revenue were never likely to happen, as there's no precedent or clear legal basis for a president to distribute tariff revenue to Americans in the form of checks. If any kind of stimulus check were to happen, it would probably come from some other funding source under Trump's control, he said. While Trump has announced plans to enact tariffs using different legal mechanisms, it's still unclear whether the plan will come to fruition. The bottom line is, it was not so likely before, and it's less likely now, Durloff said of the tariff refund checks to taxpayers. Ain't coming. On to a health article here. We've completed the local news in today's Cape Cod Times of March 2nd. A Q&A with doctors as they weigh in on the measles vaccine. Older adults can check with a doctor on a booster, by Madeline Haim of the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel in Milwaukee. After a quarter century in which the United States was considered free of endemic measles, it's back. As of February 19th, 982 confirmed measles cases have been reported in the country in 2026, according to the latest data from the CDC. Dr. James, the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, part of the USA Today Network, invited readers to ask questions about measles, vaccination rates, and how to stay protected. The Journal Sentinel consulted 3 experts to help answer these questions. Dr. James Conway is University of Wisconsin Health pediatrician, a professor of pediatrics at the University of Wisconsin-Madison's Medical School, and medical director of UW Health's immunization program. Dr. Margaret Hennessy is a pediatrician and the immunization representative for the Wisconsin chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics. And Dr. Frank Zhu is the medical director of infection control and prevention at Children's Wisconsin and assistant professor of pediatrics at the Medical College of Wisconsin. The Journal Sentinel also consulted authoritative data and information from the Wisconsin Department of Health Services and the CDC. There were two important takeaways. First, although the COVID-19 pandemic and the controversy over how the United States responded to it is a recent memory, measles is vastly different. It's a well-known disease with a long-established vaccine available that many Americans have received, providing good protection against infection. Second, for older adults who were vaccinated a long time ago, or for anyone who no longer has access to their vaccine records, it may be good to get with a doctor and ask about a measles booster shot. A question: how does measles spread? The answer: measles spreads when a person who is infected coughs, sneezes, or talks, releasing virus particles into the air that can linger for up to 2 hours. People can get measles by breathing in that contaminated air or by touching a contaminated surface and then touching their eyes, nose, or mouth. A person is contagious 4 days before a rash appears and up to 4 days afterward. What are the symptoms of measles? Measles symptoms typically start a week to 2 weeks after infection with a high fever, cough, runny nose, and red, watery eyes. A few days after the first symptoms arise, red spots or bumps appear on the face and near the hairline, and that rash will spread to the rest of the body. People may also get tiny white spots inside the mouth a few days after symptoms begin. What are the potential consequences of measles, and is measles deadly? Some people recover well from measles, and for others it can be dangerous. More common complications including ear infections and diarrhea, according to the CDC. As many as 1 in 20 children with measles get pneumonia, and about 1 in 1,000 can develop brain swelling, which can cause deafness or intellectual disability. Measles can affect the immune system long after infection, and rarely people can develop central nervous system diseases. Measles can cause death. About 1 in 1,000 to 3 in 1,000 children who get infected with measles will die from respiratory or neurological complications, according to the CDC. In 2025, 2 Texas children and 1 adult in New Mexico died of measles complications. What are the best ways to prevent measles? Health experts say the best way to prevent measles is to get the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine, or the MMR vaccine. 2 doses of the vaccine are about 97% effective at preventing the disease. More than 803 million doses have been distributed around the world since it was first approved for use. Beyond vaccination, Zhu said avoiding areas where people are acutely ill and practicing good hygiene habits like hand washing can also help reduce risk. Are vaccinated people still at risk? Well, no vaccine is 100% effective. That's why in places like South Carolina, where a massive measles outbreak is occurring, there's a small number of people who have received 1 or 2 doses of the measles vaccine becoming infected. However, it is unlikely, so much so that if a person is exposed to measles when fully vaccinated, they don't need to quarantine. Not only does the vaccine offer robust protection against contracting the disease, it also prevents it from becoming severe. People who have received the measles vaccine, if they contract the disease, have milder and shorter cases, Conway said. They also shed fewer virus particles, meaning their risk of spreading it further is lower. 2 doses means you're very likely from a personal standpoint to come out fine, even if you were unlucky enough to come down with it, Conway said. Even having 1 dose, vastly diminishes the likelihood of a severe case, he said. Should someone vaccinated a long time ago get another dose? Hennessy, Conway, and Zhu agreed that if someone has doubts about their immunity to measles because they received the vaccine a long time ago or can't find their vaccination records, it's a good idea to approach their doctor. That's also in line with guidance from the Wisconsin State Health Department and the CDC. People who were born before 1957 are generally considered to be immune to measles because they were around when it circulated more widely and have likely been exposed. People who have had measles cannot get it again. Between 1963 and 1967, Conway said, some people received an inactive vaccine or an unknown vaccine type that wasn't as effective against measles. It is safe to get an additional dose if a person is worried about this, he said. Because a second dose of the vaccine wasn't broadly recommended until 1989, some people may have only one dose. Now that vaccination rates have slipped, the disease is circulating more regularly, Conway said, it could be beneficial to get a booster dose when traveling, working in healthcare, or regularly moving around large groups of people. Older people's immune systems also deteriorate with age, Conway said, so a booster dose could help give better protection. Insurance should cover an additional shot, Hennessy said. If you don't know, unless you've got a reason not to get it, it's never going to be bad to get an extra dose, she said. It's not going to harm you. If a child has only one of 2 measles shots, how protected are they? Should a pediatrician be asked to move up the next shot? One measles dose is about 93% effective at preventing infection. The CDC recommends children receive their second dose of the vaccine between 4 and 6 years of age, but that timing was largely set so parents could conveniently obtain all the vaccines needed for their child to enter school. When there's not a lot of disease circulating, it's fine to do that, Conway said. Right now, especially if you're going to South Carolina or Texas, it's very reasonable to give that second dose a little bit earlier for a lot of kids. Children can receive the second shot 3 months after the first dose, according to the CDC. They can receive it 28 days after the first dose if there's an urgent need, such as upcoming travel. If I had a family who said, we're really worried about this, can we get our second dose now instead of waiting until kindergarten? I would do it, Hennessy said. Zhu said although there's nothing wrong with moving up the second shot, he doesn't think it's absolutely necessary unless the child's at increased risk of contracting measles or if parents might struggle to get them back to the doctor later. The first shot is still highly effective, he said. Why do babies have to wait until age 1 to get the measles vaccine? Babies are recommended to get their first dose of the measles vaccine at 12 months. Many people wonder why it's not offered earlier if the disease is so contagious, Conway said. And that question can add to skepticism about the vaccine's safety. The reason is that babies carry antibodies from their mothers in their early months of life, he said. And doctors want to wait for that natural immunity to run its course before they give the vaccine. It's purely about getting the best bang for your buck, Conway said. Babies can get the vaccine as young as 6 months if they've been exposed during an outbreak, Zhu said, but any vaccine given before 12 months doesn't count toward the vaccine schedule. Does measles affect fertility? Measles is not thought to affect fertility. However, it can pose problems during pregnancy. Pregnant individuals who become infected with measles face an increased risk of hospitalization, pneumonia, and death. It also carries risks to the fetus, including miscarriage, stillbirth, low birth weight, and increased risk of preterm delivery, according to the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. Why are some children not getting the measles vaccine? The MMR vaccine is one of the more commonly refused childhood vaccines, Conway said, and that stems from a now debunked scientific paper from 1998 that suggested a link between this vaccine and autism. although the claim has been thoroughly refuted, and the paper itself was retracted in 2010. It caused a large number of parents to skip the vaccine for their children. Hesitancy of vaccines in general intensified during and after the COVID-19 pandemic, and today, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a vocal vaccine skeptic, has dramatically scaled back national vaccine recommendations. On its page about the measles vaccine, the CDC states there is no link between the vaccine and autism. Measles hadn't circulated widely in the U.S. over the last few decades, in large part because vaccination rates were high, Conway said. It may have felt easy for parents to opt out of the vaccine because they weren't seeing the disease in their daily lives, in addition to the misinformation about autism. People could decline because most other people were getting the vaccine, he said. Then we get to this breaking point. Hennessy said in conversations with parents, she explains how closely vaccines are monitored and shares that she's gotten the measles vaccine for her son. She also talks about the potential consequences of being infected. Does that always convince people? No, she said, but I don't benefit at all from whether you get a vaccine or not. It doesn't cause me any financial gain. What I do want to do is really protect everybody and keep everyone safe. There are other reasons besides vaccine hesitancy that children aren't getting vaccinated. Socioeconomic barriers, such as access to transportation or medical care, can also contribute, Zhu said. People can access free vaccines if they're eligible through the Vaccines for Children and Vaccines for Adults programs. Moving into local sports, it is playoff time. Barnstable looking strong enough for a Division II state title by Alan Gunn in Barnstable. Barnstable boys hockey head coach Tim Grace asked his assistant coach if it was rowdy in the locker room. The response was yes. Good, is all Grace said in reply as music blared in the background. Grace knows playoff wins aren't easy to come by, and that his team's 5-2 MIAA Division II round of 32 win over number 25 Minnechaug on Saturday was well-deserved. We told the boys before the game that we've earned our right to be here, and they won 5-2. But it's a new season, and we're going to be remembered for what we do from here on out. We don't take them wins lightly, Grace said. The Redhawks learned a lot from last year's two-game playoff run when they were the 24th seed and upset number 9 Reading Memorial before falling in overtime to 8th-ranked Zavarian Brothers. They didn't want to be on the opposite side of that and made sure they weren't by coming out and scoring the first 3 goals of the game. Minnechaug scored to make it 3-1 but never threatened the Barnstable lead. A lot of that came down to what the Redhawks have leaned on all year. Tremendous goaltending from Bob Doherty, arguably the best on the Cape and Islands, if not the state, in his position, and a stout defense in front of him. Bob is amazing, Redhawks defenseman August Annett said. He gives us the confidence to be a little bit more active as defensemen. It boosts our confidence knowing that we have like a wall back there, and that even if we do make a mistake, we have a good chance to survive it. A team to compete. The Redhawks feel like they can comfortably send 3 lines over the boards and make an impact, while their defense is one of the best in the region. I think we can play any type of game, Grace said. If it has to be high scoring, we can do it, but ultimately we'd like to keep it low scoring and do our job in our end with the puck. We have some great defensemen back there that make it easier on Bob Doherty and our forwards. That combination plus a solid goalie is one that can turn a team, regardless of seed, into a potential state champion, especially in a single elimination tournament. In any sport where the score is kept, all that matters is having one more goal or point than the opposition. Just win hockey games, try to get to the next round, Annett said. Once you're on the ice, it's just hockey and just another game you got to win. Put pucks in the net, keep them out of yours. Grace knew that goal scoring was going to be the one area his team was going to have to figure out coming into the 2025-2026 season. Goal scoring is something that can't really be coached. Levi McNally picked a good time to have his first hat trick of the season, but getting to this point for the sophomore was one that wasn't without its growing pains. I've definitely struggled with that in the past, but going into games with more confidence will help me produce more for my team, McNally said. I wanted to have more confidence in myself playing on the top two lines, so I think that's what really made me gain more confidence. That shift came in between his freshman and sophomore years. He knew without the likes of Tyler Gualberto, who led the team in scoring a season ago, that someone needed to step into a consistent role. McNally showed his impact in a variety of ways against Minnechaug. He scored his first goal shorthanded, his second was on the power play, and his third was 5-on-5. He just tried to make an impact beyond what's seen on the score sheet. Between that, he broke up plays, he threw his body, and he carried the puck up the ice with the confidence he's gained in himself. The best one that he scored was actually off the other player's feet that trickled in, because it came from his hard work and determination to get the puck back, Grace said. But that's the type of thing we need. We need a couple of guys to get hot at the right time, and we'll be a lot to deal with. It's hard for McNally to pick just one player that he's molded his game off of, but he, like many who tuned into the Olympics, pinpointed that he wants to be the player that can connect with anyone on the team at any moment. That mindset makes him a complete team-first player, and when the season is on the line each night, that can make all the difference. You just want to keep playing, he said. You want to have your seniors to keep playing. You don't want their season to end shorter than it has to. You want to be able to go all the way for them, and I'll do anything I can for them. We're at the midway portion of our reading. Regular listeners are aware, I'm sure. It's at this stage that we move to a different kind of local news, which are the obituaries and death notices published in the Cape Cod Times for that day. And in the Times of March 2nd of 2026, the first obituary is of Dorothy Flanagan. Dorothy Jane Flanagan of Centerville, Mass. Passed on February 2nd at the age of 94, with her beloved family at her side. Dot was born May 29, 1931, at home in Valley Stream, New York. She was very proud of her German ancestry and mentioned it often. Dot experienced the challenges of growing up during the Great Depression, World War II, and the Korean War. She met her great and enduring love, Leo Flanagan, through wartime correspondence. Dot loved games, gossip, country line dancing, sewing, crafts, the Red Hatters, ice cream from Four Seas and Maggie's, Oreos, the family dogs, her homes in Bayonne, New York, Marlow, New Hampshire, and Centerville, Mass. However, nothing compared to Dot's fierce and enduring love for her family. She'll be remembered for wrapping those she cared for in warm, cozy blankets. Dot is survived and treasured by many who will miss her dearly. Funeral services will be held at the First Church UCC, 136 Main Street in Sandwich, Mass. At 11:30 a.m. this Wednesday, March 4th, with burial to follow at the Massachusetts National Cemetery in Bourne. In lieu of flowers, any donations can be made to the MSPCA of Cape Cod at 1577 Falmouth Road in Centerville, Mass. 02632. The other obituary in today's Cape Cod Times is of Marjorie A. Frith of East Dennis, who passed at home on January 28th. Marjorie was born in 1935, graduating from Lexington High School, where she enjoyed playing softball, field hockey, and basketball before graduating in 1953. After some time, she attended college, earning an associate's degree in chemistry. In her youth, she was proud of her 1964 Barracuda and had an interest in photography. Although Marge never had biological children of her own, she was very much a mother figure in many children's lives. She's survived by her extended family and many friends. Marjorie's wishes were to be cremated and to have her ashes scattered at select locations. Marjorie will be greatly missed and fondly remembered by family and friends. And that concludes the obituaries that are listed in today's Cape Cod Times. More high school sports. It is tournament time. High school Saturday Roundup. Bourne boys hockey upsets number 10 Hopkinton in state tournament by Courtney Jacobs. The MIAA state tournament's known for upsets. The Bourne High boys hockey team proved that Saturday. They were ranked number 23, and those Canalmen, who were 10-9-2, beat number 10 Hopkinton 3-2. Landon Hope, Charlie Seitz, and James Kroll had each scored a goal. Kroll also had an assist. Hunter McLean had 2 assists, Frank Carpenito 1 assist, and Cole Thomas an assist, also contributing on offense. Jackson Palmborg finished with 26 saves in goal. The Canalmen will face a familiar opponent next as they travel to number 7, Martha's Vineyard, in the round of 16. In other high school sports playoff action in boys hockey, Division II round of 32, number 8 Barnstable 5, number 25 Minnechaug 2. In girls hockey, it was Division II round of 32, number 4 Pembroke 8, number 29 Barnstable UCT CCT 2. In girls basketball, in Division V, the round of 32, number 4, St. John Paul II, 60. Number 29, Bethany Christian Academy, 31. Division 5, round of 32. It was number 2, Hopedale, 62. Number 34, Cape Tech, 24. The Crusaders, 11-9, fell to one of the top teams in Division 5. They beat number 31, Rockport, 53-41 in the preliminary round. In Division 4, the round of 32, it was number 1, Frontier 79, number 32, Falmouth Academy 17. Division 4, round of 32, number 7, Manchester Essex 63, number 26, Bourne 38. The Canalmen, who were 7-15 on the year, couldn't make it back to the round of 16 for the 4th straight season. In boys basketball, Division 5 preliminary round, number 31 Cape Cod Academy 63, number 34 Calvary Chapel Academy 50. Division 3 round of 32, number 24 Pembroke 65, number 9 Martha's Vineyard 50. The Vineyarders, who were 17-4 on the season, were upset at home in their opening playoff game. Division 3 round of 32. Number 4, Swampscott, 67. Number 29, Nantucket, 61 in overtime. The Whalers, who were 15-7 on the year, almost pulled off one of the biggest upsets of the first round. Division 4, round of 32. Number 20, Monument Mountain, 73. Number 13, Upper Cape, 69. The Rams, who were 17-4, fell at home in their opening round matchup. Division 4 round of 32 was number 12 Clinton, 77. Number 21 Mashpee, 68. The Falcons, who were 10-11, came up just short of a road victory. And Division 1 round of 32, number 3 Needham, 69. Number 30 Barnstable, 59. The Redhawks were 14-8 on the season, fought hard, but couldn't pull off the big upset. They defeated number 35 Shrewsbury 68-59 in the preliminary round. We've completed all the local and regional news. We'll move on to the international world, and as many of you, I'm sure, are well aware at this point, we have quite a conflagration in the Middle East going on in Iran. The headline reads, "Attack on Iran. Tehran retaliates after leader killed in strikes. U.S. service members die amid operations in the Middle East." This is reported by Rebecca Morin, Kim Yelmagard, Eve Chen, Swapna Venugopal Ramaswamy, Jonathan Limehouse, and Fernando Cervantes Jr. of USA Today. 3 U.S. service members were killed amid the ongoing conflict in Iran, and 5 were seriously wounded, according to American military officials. Several others sustained minor shrapnel injuries and concussions are in the process of being returned to duty. Major combat operations continue, and our response effort is ongoing, U.S. Central Command said in a post on X. Israel and Iran continued trading military strikes on March 1st yesterday, a day after Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was killed in joint strikes by Israel and the United States as the Trump administration targets the country's missile capabilities. Iranian state media reported explosions across Tehran, including near residential buildings and a complex that houses Iranian broadcasters. Israel has said they're all targets linked to Iran's regime. Israel's defense forces said in a statement that the country's air force has killed at least 30 senior Iranian officials in the ongoing operation. Iranian media and officials reported that joint U.S.-Israeli strikes hit a girls' primary school in the southern part of the country, killing 85 people. The IRNA news agency said the majority of the casualties are children at the Shajara Tayyebe all-girls school in Minab. Dozens more are unaccounted for, the state-run news agency said. A local Iranian prosecutor was quoted in the IRNA report. Reuters couldn't independently confirm the reports. United States and military forces from Israel did not immediately respond to a request for comment. President Donald Trump has warned Iran not to strike back in capital letters. If they do, we will hit them with a force that has never been seen before, he said in a post on Truth Social. Iran, meanwhile, is continuing to insist that it will go on attacking U.S. military bases in Israel, which it started doing on February 28th. Iran launched retaliatory drone and missile strikes against American and Israeli targets immediately after the joint U.S.-Israeli attack, hitting an American Navy base in Bahrain where no U.S. service members were wounded or killed. Dubai's luxury hotel, Burj Al Arab, was damaged in attacks by Iran. Loud blasts were also heard in the Qatari capital of Doha, and Oman was hit for the first time. 8 people were killed after an attack on the Israeli town of Beit Shemesh, the Israeli ambulance service said March 1st. More than 20 people were hospitalized with injuries, according to multiple reports. Beit Shemesh is about 40 miles from Jerusalem. The State Department announced that Secretary of State Marco Rubio has canceled his planned visit to Israel on March 2nd and 3rd in the wake of Iran strikes. Rubio was scheduled to discuss a range of regional priorities, including Iran, Lebanon, and ongoing efforts to implement Trump's 20-point peace plan for Gaza, the State Department had previously announced. World leaders have called for de-escalation in the region. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres urged an immediate cessation of hostilities and warned that military action carries the risk of igniting a chain of events that no one can control in the most volatile region of the world. The conflict follows weeks of rising tensions as Trump repeatedly threatened to attack Iran if negotiations over its nuclear and missile development programs failed. A top aide to Khamenei insisted that the supreme leader's death would be avenged. Ali Larijani, who is Iran's security chief, also said a leadership transition process in Iran has started, according to Iranian state media. Under Iran's constitution, the country's president, the head of its justice ministry, and a senior cleric from the powerful Guardian Council take charge of Iran on an interim basis, and then an inner circle of senior officials who are part of a body known as the Assembly of Experts choose a successor. Air travel across the Middle East has come to a standstill, resulting in airspace closures. In the United Arab Emirates, 1 person was killed, 7 people were hurt by falling debris after a drone targeting Zayed International Airport was intercepted, according to Abu Dhabi airports. The airport and UAE airspace was closed on March 1st. 4 workers were hurt when a concourse sustained minor damage at Dubai International Airport, one of the world's busiest, according to Dubai airports. Most terminals had already been evacuated at the time. The airport and Dubai World Central, Al Maktoum International, have both suspended flights until further notice. A number of workers suffered minor injuries in a drone attack on Kuwait International Airport, ABC News and the Wall Street Journal reported, citing the country's Civil Aviation Authority, which USA Today has reached out to. Bahrain International Airport and Hamad International Airport in Qatar suspended flight operations due to airspace closures over their respective countries. Israel also closed its airspace and evacuated passengers at Ben Gurion International Airport and Haifa Airport, according to its airports authority. Some of Israel's land border crossings also closed. The vast majority of El Al, Emirates, Fly Dubai, Gulf Air, and Qatar Airways flights from March 1st were canceled, according to flight tracking website FlightAware. More than half of Etihad Airways flights were canceled as well. Rallies, protests amid internet blackout. Iran's authorities declared a mourning period of 40 days following Khamenei's death. On March 1st, state media published videos and photos showing some pro-government rallies and events in Tehran and other cities. Still, Iranian authorities have imposed a near-total internet blackout, according to NetBlocks, a connectivity monitoring group. That makes communications with the outside world difficult. However, some video and testimonies have emerged from Iran on social media and sent directly to Western news outlets, including USA Today, that appear to show scenes of celebration and joy over Khamenei's killing. Trump has called for Iranians to rise up against Iran's clerical regime. It's not yet clear if they will do so. Iran's domestic security apparatus is enormous and violent, as January crackdowns on protesters demonstrated. At least 9 protesters were shot and killed in the Pakistani city of Karachi when crowds breached the outer wall of the U.S. consulate in the Green Zone following news of the strikes. "Death to Israel, death to America," the protesters shouted. They were eventually pushed back from the consulate, said Sugdev Asardis Hemnani, a local government spokesman. Protesters also set a vehicle ablaze outside the main gate and clashed with police, he said. U.S. consulate security officials opened fire at the protesters, Hemnani said. Meanwhile, in Iraq, police fired tear gas and stun grenades to scatter hundreds of pro-Iranian protesters who had gathered outside the Green Zone in the capital of Baghdad, where the U.S. Embassy is located. Pakistan and Iraq have the largest Shiite Muslim populations after Iran. Pope Leo and Putin weigh in. Pope Leo XIV warned of an immense tragedy if violence between the U.S., Israel, and Iran continues. During his weekly address at St. Peter's Square on March 1st, the Pope condemned the ongoing fighting in the Middle East, saying that a spiral of violence could escalate out of control in the region. Stability and peace are not built with mutual threats, nor with weapons which sow destruction, pain, and death, but only through a reasonable, authentic, and responsible dialogue, he said. I address to the parties involved a heartfelt appeal to assume the moral responsibility to stop the spiral of violence before it becomes an irreparable abyss. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin described Khamenei's killing as a cynical murder, according to a Russian state news agency, TASS. Khamenei's assassination is a violation of all standards of human morality and international law, Putin said. He also offered his condolences to Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian. Ties between Russia and Iran have strengthened in recent years amid Russia's war in Ukraine. Iran has supplied Russia with its deadly Shahed drones. Russia, in turn, has been purchasing Iran's heavily sanctioned oil exports. And contributing to that article were Reuters staff. Final story on the front page. Before U.S. bombed Iran, Kerry and Pompeo debated it, by Hannah Phillips. 2 days before the United States attacked Iran, former Secretary of State John Kerry issued a warning from a stage in West Palm Beach, Florida. If you push them too hard into a corner, if you drop the bombs before there's a decision to be made, it is entirely possible these folks, who are masters of asymmetrical warfare, may just say, "To hell with them," Kerry said, speaking to a crowd of 320 people at Palm Beach Atlantic University. Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo disagreed. He said he'd sat in the Situation Room when the intelligence community briefed the president on the strike that killed Iranian General Qasem Soleimani. The room predicted catastrophe, World War III, thousands of Americans dead, and retaliatory strikes on U.S. bases across the region. Well, none of it happened, Pompeo said. He added that maybe they were lucky, but they had done the work to make the worst outcomes less likely, and even more work has been done since. I'm confident that with our Israeli partners, we can go a long ways to taking down Iran, he said. About 36 hours after they spoke, the U.S. and Israel launched a major coordinated attack on Iran, targeting sites across Tehran, Isfahan, Shiraz, and Tabriz, including what happened to be the compound of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. President Donald Trump posted a video urging Iranians to shelter during the strikes and then take over their government when they ended. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the operation would create the conditions for the brave Iranian people to take their fate into their own hands. Iran retaliated within hours, launching missiles and drones at Israel and striking U.S. military installations in Bahrain, Kuwait, and Qatar. Kerry and Pompeo had debated that very scenario February 26th in a bipartisan foreign policy discussion moderated by former U.S. Senator George Lemieux, a Republican from Florida. Lemieux prefaced each question with a brief and often bleak summary of affairs. He began with Iran, which, hours earlier, had completed its third round of nuclear talks under the shadow of a growing U.S. military presence in the Persian Gulf. Addressing Kerry, he asked, "Are we going to war?" "That would be chaos," said Kerry, who negotiated the 2015 Iran nuclear deal under President Barack Obama. He called Iran as ugly a regime as exists on the planet, and said that bombing it before diplomacy had run its course would be a catastrophic mistake. He negotiated with its envoys for 3 years, he said, and came to know a pride among the Iranians that was out of sync with the realities they were facing. If that pride is what they make a decision on, it could be a disaster, he said. Kerry added that just hours earlier, Iran's foreign minister took to social media to say the country would not pursue a nuclear weapon and is prepared to prove it, a sign that pressure may be working. Pompeo took a harder line. He said he doesn't put much stock in what Iranian officials say, and that maximum pressure remains the right strategy. And the question of whether America was going to war with Iran was, in his view, already answered. "Folks, we're at war with the Iranian regime today," he said. "They've got American blood on their hands." In the analysis section, Trump's reasons for Iran attacks question. Analysts dismiss claims about the nuclear program by Michael Collins and Francesca Chambers of USA Today in Washington. President Donald Trump and members of his administration repeatedly made the case for military strikes against Iran by arguing that the Middle Eastern country posed a serious threat to the U.S. Iran, they said, was on the verge of developing a nuclear weapon and ballistic missiles capable of striking the United States. But national security analysts and experts on Iran and its ruling regime say those claims are based on assumptions that are wrong or greatly exaggerated. It's not true, Matthew Bunn, an arms control expert at Harvard's Kennedy School, said of the assertion that Iran is close to developing a nuclear weapon. The U.S. and Israel launched military strikes and major combat operations against Iran on February 28th, targeting the country's missile capabilities and its leaders. Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was killed in the joint strikes, an Israeli source confirmed to USA Today, and Trump also announced Khamenei's death. Iran's foreign ministry insisted earlier in the day on February 28th that he and President Masoud Pezeshkian remained safe and sound. But then that same state media later confirmed Khamenei had been killed. Reuters reported that 201 people were killed, 747 wounded in the attacks, according to Iranian media that cited the Red Crescent, a humanitarian group working in the region. Official estimates of fatalities and injuries haven't been confirmed by American or international authorities. Senior Trump administration officials, briefing reporters after the attacks on the condition of anonymity, insisted that the strikes were necessary to protect Americans from what they said was an intolerable risk to the U.S. from Iran's development of long-range missiles. Trump said during his State of the Union address on February 24th that Iran was close to developing a nuclear weapon and ballistic missiles that could soon reach the U.S. He repeated those claims in a video posted on social media after the U.S.-Israeli attacks on Iran. The U.S. had been negotiating with Iran in the hope of striking a deal that would avoid a military confrontation. A third round of indirect talks ended February 26th without a major breakthrough, but negotiators from both countries had been expected to meet again this week. In their briefing with reporters, a senior administration official said Iran refused to even discuss its ballistic missile program inside or outside of mediated talks with the U.S., and that was unacceptable to the Trump administration, the official said. Another U.S. official said the U.S. had intelligence showing Iran was in the throes of rebuilding 3 nuclear sites the U.S. military bombed last summer. The officials said they determined in the course of talks that Iran was seeking to preserve its ability to enrich uranium so that over time they could use it to make a nuclear bomb. Iran has said it seeks to use enriched uranium for non-weapons purposes, such as energy production. One official said the administration offered to give Iran free fuel in perpetuity, but Iran declined, saying it needed to enrich uranium, the official said. The fact that they weren't willing to take free nuclear fuel was a big tell to us that they were looking to buy time, the official said. Iran has a stockpile of nearly 1,000 pounds of uranium enriched at 60% purity, the official said. Uranium enriched at 60% could be converted within a week to 90%, which is the level needed to make a nuclear weapon, the official said. But national security analysts said Iran doesn't have the capability to enrich uranium to 90%. After the U.S. bombed 3 Iranian nuclear facilities last June, Trump announced the sites had been obliterated. Iran had no operating enrichment facilities after those attacks, said Bunn, who has analyzed the long-term risks of Iran obtaining nuclear weapons. The major facilities of Iran's program and a lot of the key experts were destroyed. Iran may have been able to rescue some of its enriched uranium stockpile either before or after the June attacks, Bunn said, but in terms of a facility that would make weapons-grade uranium, none of that is there, he said. And with that, we've come to the end of our reading of the Cape Cod Times for today, Monday, March 2nd of 2026. This is your reader, Eric, saying be well, be safe, look after each other, and remember our veterans, especially those 3 we just lost and any others that may have passed recently. Bye for now.